Once a leaf so powerful, it became the lifeline of empires. A leaf that fed armies, healed the sick, and carried secrets modern science is only beginning to rediscover. Kings trusted it, healers treasured it, and civilizations depended on it for survival. And yet, this miracle was erased. Silenced by prophet, buried by history, and forgotten by the world. What was this leaf? Why did it vanish? And what secrets does it still hold for us today? Welcome to Forgotten Leaf Secrets, where we uncover the plants, remedies, and wisdom the world tried to erase. This is the beginning of the story of the forgotten leaf that healed empires. For centuries, it was more than food. It was medicine, resilience, and survival woven into the daily lives of people. It carried strength in its veins, healing in its fibers, and abundance in every breath of green. But then, history turned against it. The leaf that once stood as a symbol of endurance was silenced, erased from records, and buried in the soil of time. Tonight, we begin the journey into its mystery, the forgotten leaf that healed empires, and then vanished. The journey of the forgotten leaf begins in the heart of ancient Europe. Before modern medicine, long before industrial farming, this plant grew wild in the meadows and forests, resilient, untamed, and overflowing with hidden strength. It was here that healers first discovered its power. They brewed its leaves into teas to fight fevers, crushed its roots to ease pain, and fed its shoots to warriors preparing for battle. To them, this was not just a plant. It was a shield, a living guardian against sickness and weakness. As empires rose, the leaf traveled with them. Roman soldiers carried it across borders. Medieval healers preserved its secrets in manuscripts. Villagers planted it beside their homes, knowing it would return every spring without fail. This was the leaf that healed empires woven into survival, trusted by kings and remembered in folklore. Its reputation spread across continents, whispered in stories of resilience and abundance. But as powerful as it was, its fate was already being sealed. For while nature gave freely, history would soon take it away. As empires grew, so too did the reputation of the forgotten leaf. It was no longer just a humble plant in the fields. It became a force woven into the very survival of nations. Roman legions marched with its strength in their packs, consuming it before battle to endure long campaigns. Medieval healers prescribed it as a cure for fevers, wounds, and weakness, calling it the green shield of the poor. In villages, it was planted beside homes, not as decoration, but as insurance, a promise that no family would starve. No child would go hungry, and no soldier would fall without a fight. The leaf became a symbol of resilience. It was whispered about in folklore, praised in manuscripts, and passed down through generations as a living inheritance. To kings, it was a secret weapon. To healers, it was a miracle. To common people, it was survival itself. This was the height of its power, a plant that fed armies, healed nations, and stood as proof that nature itself could sustain empires. But with power came danger. For while the leaf gave freely, there were forces rising that would soon decide its fate. Behind the legend of the forgotten leaf lies its true power, the secrets hidden within its veins. Ancient healers may not have known the science, but they understood its effects: strength, endurance, and healing. Modern analysis reveals what empires once trusted instinctively. This leaf was richer in iron than spinach, packed with protein that rivaled meat, and loaded with vitamins that fortified the body against disease. Its compounds strengthened immunity, repaired wounds, and gave energy to armies who marched for weeks without rest. But it wasn't just food, it was medicine. Herbalists brewed it into teas to calm fevers, crushed its roots to soothe inflammation, and used its shoots to restore vitality in the weak. For mothers, it was nourishment. For warriors, it was resilience. For healers, it was a miracle growing freely from the soil. Imagine a single plant that could feed, heal, and protect, a plant that carried the power of survival itself. That was the gift of the forgotten leaf. And yet, despite its unmatched strength, history chose to silence it. The question is, why? The forgotten leaf was more than nourishment. It became a symbol woven into the culture of empires. In villages, families planted it beside their homes as a promise of survival. Each spring, its shoots were celebrated as the return of abundance, a ritual of resilience passed down through generations. Mothers fed it to children for strength, while elders brewed it into tonics believed to protect the spirit as well as the body. In folklore, the leaf was praised as a gift from the earth itself. Songs and stories spoke of its power to heal the sick and sustain the weary. Warriors carried it as a charm of endurance, believing its green veins held the strength of nature's lifeblood. Even in ceremonies, it appeared as a sacred offering, a reminder that health and survival were not bought, but grown freely from the soil. To kings, it was a hidden weapon. To healers, it was a miracle. To common people, it was identity, a living inheritance that tied them to the land. This was the cultural heartbeat of the leaf. It was not just a plant. It was tradition, resilience, and memory. But as history shifted, forces rose that would sever this bond and begin the process of erasing it from daily life. For centuries, the forgotten leaf thrived, feeding families, healing the sick, and standing as a symbol of resilience. But then, history shifted. As empires gave way to industry, the world's relationship with food began to change. Profit replaced tradition. Seeds once shared freely were now controlled, cataloged, and sold. The forgotten leaf, which asked for nothing and gave endlessly, did not fit into this new order. It was labeled old-fashioned, dismissed as peasant food, and quietly removed from seed lists. Farmers were encouraged to abandon it for crops that could be patented, marketed, and monetized. What had once been a miracle of survival was now seen as a threat to profit. This was the turning point. The leaf that healed empires was not defeated by famine or disease. It was defeated by economics. Silenced not by nature, but by human hands. And so slowly it vanished, erased from records, forgotten in fields, and buried beneath the rise of modern agriculture. But its story was not over. In hidden corners, in whispers of folklore, the leaf still lived, waiting for the day it would rise again. The fall of the forgotten leaf was not an accident. It was deliberate. As industrial agriculture rose, powerful interests began reshaping the food system. Crops that could be patented, marketed, and sold for profit were promoted. But the forgotten leaf, a perennial that grew freely, asked for nothing and gave endlessly, was a threat to this new order. Seed catalogs quietly removed it. Farmers were told it was outdated, unprofitable, and unworthy of modern fields. Texts that once praised its healing powers were rewritten, its name replaced by newer crops that could be controlled. Generations who had relied on it were persuaded to abandon it, their traditions labeled as primitive. Slowly, the leaf disappeared from kitchens, from gardens, from the collective memory of entire nations. What had once been a miracle of survival was now dismissed as a weed. This was not just erasure from soil, it was erasure from history. A plant that healed empires was buried under the weight of profit, propaganda, and silence. And yet, in hidden corners, whispers of its power remained. Folklore kept its memory alive, waiting for the day it would be rediscovered. Though the forgotten leaf was erased from catalogs and dismissed by industry, it never truly disappeared. In remote villages, families continued to nurture it in secret gardens, passing its seeds quietly from hand to hand. Herbalists, unwilling to abandon its power, preserved its recipes in hidden manuscripts and whispered its uses to apprentices. Folklore kept its memory alive, stories of a leaf that healed the sick, strengthened the weak, and returned faithfully every spring. In the shadows, it survived. Not in the grand halls of empires, but in the humble soil of forgotten lands. Mothers brewed it into teas for their children. Elders spoke of its resilience as proof that nature always protects those who listen. Generations later, even as the world forgot, the leaf endured, waiting patiently beneath the surface of history. A silent survivor, hidden from profit, untouched by industry, and preserved only by those who refused to let its legacy die. This was the leaf's secret life, a quiet existence in the margins of history, waiting for rediscovery. And soon, that rediscovery would begin. Centuries after its erasure, whispers of the forgotten leaf began to surface once again. In hidden gardens, in old manuscripts, and in the memories of elders, its legacy refused to die. Modern herbalists started asking questions. Why had this plant vanished? What secrets did it still hold? And when scientists finally analyzed its compounds, they uncovered what empires had once known instinctively. This leaf was a powerhouse of nutrition and healing. Rich in iron, protein, and antioxidants, it carried the strength to fight malnutrition, restore vitality, and protect against disease. Slowly, the leaf began to return. Seed savers reintroduced it into catalogs. Herbal communities celebrated its resilience. And in a world facing food insecurity and rising health crises, the forgotten leaf was no longer just history. It was a solution waiting to be embraced. What was once erased is now rising again. A miracle plant, rediscovered in our time, carrying the same promise it once gave to empires: survival, strength, and healing. The story of the forgotten leaf is more than history. It is a reminder. A reminder that nature has always carried answers, that wisdom often lies in what we choose to forget, and that survival can grow freely from the soil beneath our feet. This leaf healed empires, nourished generations, and endured in silence through centuries of erasure. And now, as the world faces hunger, disease, and disconnection from nature, its return is more than rediscovery. It is a second chance. The question is not whether this leaf can rise again, but whether we are ready to embrace it. If you want to uncover more hidden plant stories and suppressed remedies, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Forgotten Leaf Secrets, and stay with us on this journey.